Paramahamsa Namaste. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Nirmate Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa Namaste. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Nirmate Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa Namaste. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Nirmate Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa Namaste. Namo Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa Namaste. Gora Karuna Swarupaya Radha Krishna Prasthaya Te. Namo Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa Namaste. Gora Karuna Swarupaya Radha Krishna Prasthaya Te. Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasudeva Bhakta Vrinda. Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasudeva Bhakta Vrinda. Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasudeva Bhakta Vrinda. Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasudeva Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Jaya Gurudev Jaya Jaya Guranga Jaya Jaya Gurudev Jaya Jaya Guranga. Jaya Jaya Gurudev Jaya Jaya Guranga Jaya Jaya Gurudev Jaya Jaya Guranga. Jaya Jaya Gurudev Jaya Jaya Guranga Jaya Jaya Gurudev Jaya Jaya Guranga. Jaya Jaya Gurudev Jaya Jaya Guranga Jaya Jaya Gurudev Jaya Jaya Guranga. Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohana Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohana. Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohana Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohana. Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohana Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohana. Mohana, Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana, Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana, Gopala Govinda Rama, Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana, Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana, Gopala Govinda Rama, Hari Krishna, Hari Krishna. Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana, Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana, Gopala Govinda Rama, Gopala Govinda Rama, Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana, Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana, Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana, Gopala Govinda Rama, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Gauranga, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Gauranga, Jaya Jaya Gauranga, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Gauranga, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya 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 Jaya Gauranga, Jaya Jaya Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa, Jaya Jaya Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa, Jaya Jaya Shila Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Shila Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Shila Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Shila Prabhupada.
Haribol Namaste. Today we'll continue our study program to recap and to have a recall of what we have discussed yesterday. It is about the jungle of material life, how one can cross in the jungle of material life, and how one should be able to understand his Sanatan Dharma, his true identity, his true position, and be guided by someone who is transcendental to this material conditioning to be able to cross the jungle. So we discussed yesterday about predators. In the jungle, when one crosses the jungle, like the jungle, the green hell of Amazon, there's a lot of dangerous elements there, living creatures who are predators. You can just walk there, you cannot just walk there wide-eyed and I'm gonna cross this jungle of the Amazon. A person must be guided by the jungle man to cross the jungle. So when the living entity comes in contact with Lord Krishna through his teachings, coming from the lips of his pure confidential friend, he teaches us about our true eternal identity, Sanatana Dharma, our true natural function, and how we can purify our state of consciousness now, wherein we can be functionable on a transcendental environment and activities to enter that world. And it begins with the purificatory process of hearing and chanting the holy names that will purify our heart, purify the mind. Because as what we can see, when we are in this environment, this material world, there's a force that drives us, dictates us. And this force is greater than us, although by nature, in quality, we are superior, but we are so minute that we can be covered by this energy matter. Like now, we're covered by this body made out of material elements. We can utilize this body, but we cannot overcome it by our own power because there are laws that are very hard to surpass and overcome, the three modes of material nature. And when we come to this world, we become conditioned to identifying ourselves as this body, following the desires in the mind. Not only that, we become conditioned to identify ourselves with what we are not, this body. And we begin to become conditioned to taste, to like certain activities, certain tastes, certain experience because of the three modes of material nature. The mode of goodness, in quality, everyone, in short, it's like an experience wherein the living entity wants to experience peacefulness. Those who just sit down, looking at the sunset, seeing the moon, the cool breeze, they want to experience this calmness, or they want to stay in a heavenly situation. But other individuals are conditioned not by the mode of goodness, the mode of passion. They like to enjoy, experience sensual enjoyment. And the other is the person in the mode of ignorance. He just like to sleep. And those influence have a certain effect on our consciousness, what we do, what we eat, how we act, how we see, how we decide. So the process that is given to us is to purify us from this material conditioning so we can experience Sanatana Dharma. What is Sanatana Dharma? It is the natural activity of the living entity in loving service to the Supreme Person, his natural position as eternal loving servant of the Supreme Person. So the Supreme Person states in Bhagavad Gita that he is the Supreme Father. He comes, he sends his representative to bring us back to that world of Sanatana Dharma, our eternal activities, our eternal position, our eternal nature, not contaminated by this material conditioning. But we must cross this jungle of material life. To get out of this jungle of material life, we must be careful whom we should follow, whom we should listen, whom we should associate, because the environment has a great effect upon our consciousness and our activities. The environment and individuals in this environment whom we associate will have a great impact upon our consciousness, our activities. So the advice of the saintly person is that we must associate with the bona fide spiritual master who is transcendental to this material conditioning. And it is achieved by following his instruction, listening through oral reception. Because we have been conditioned, we come here, and the problem that we face is that we try to play Lord, to dominate, to play surrogate father, to play surrogate. We want to experience to be served. We try to direct our love upon this temporary son-man or this temporary form in the form of the woman's form of our wife, our son. These material elements that covers their body, it undergoes changes. It's mutable. And we put our love there. We try to control and direct our love, our activities, our shelter, our refuge. Because by nature, the eternal function of the living entity to experience loving service, complete devotional loving service, amiably, without tinge of this material contamination of trying to experience and play that role of surrogate God, surrogate supreme enjoyer. So when we discussed last time about the jungle of material life, there are individuals whom we should be worried and should be watching, not to simply follow, but listen carefully with what they're saying, activities they do, and it must be checked by us under the guidance of our Gurudev, the Lord within the heart, and scriptures. For example, salvationism. It's predominant here in our place, in this planet Earth. They're teaching salvationism, to be saved. So when they incorporate so-called spirituality with freedom, to be free, to be able to implement, to guide, supposedly, to help these people, they put this flavor of salvation. And subtly, it's a threatening sound. It's a threatening, activities or implementation to force the living entity to go to follow, to be subservient to what they're teaching. And the goal of life is not salvation. So they put fear in people's heart. And it's also, and this blatant, of telling individuals that to be saved is the goal of life. And if you don't follow what they're teaching, you're going to go to hell. So they threaten the living entity. So if we are with wisdom, we are on a transcendental atmosphere under the guidance of the spiritual master, we can be guided. We cannot be threatened because the spirit soul is eternal. And when we are in the environment of this devotional service, we are not touched by this material anxiety. We are in Vaikuntha. What is Vaikuntha? It is a complete understanding and a situation wherein the living entity has come to the point of purity that his mind, his heart, his senses has become transcendental. His world is simply dedicated to doing the will of God. So we should assess ourselves if we are in that consciousness. So if we associate with someone, we must be careful whom to follow, whom to listen. Because if these predators comes to our environment and push forward this nonsense idea that is not eternal, connected with Sanatan Dharma, it will ruin our life. It's like playing with someone. You see a lion in the jungle. Wow, he's just looking at you teary-eyed like a father. And then he opens his mouth and you go near. Kitty, 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 you put your head inside. He cuts your head. So when we come to an environment that is polluted with this material conditioning, it is about selfishness, salvationism. And when we don't understand, when we have not realized and experienced God's love and that we have an eternal friend, an eternal refuge, the unconditional love of Lord Krishna, our eternal Father, who loves us unconditionally. Even though we want to serve Him or we don't want to serve Him, He comes, guides us. So when the living entity comes to the point, enough, he's in the crossroad now. What will I do with my life in this body? Time is connected. My body is connected with time. Sooner or later, I have to leave the body. And when I cross this jungle, how can I cross this dark jungle? There's a lot of predators there. And very willingly, just waiting to devour us because they are so diseased with this false lordship, this false ego to dominate. We should see that. And we should see that also from ourselves. We should stop playing surrogate Krishna. We have children. Oh, we enjoy the lives and the activities of the children. This temporary world that we're in. We try, serve me, I love you, I'll protect you. There's nothing wrong in caring, in taking responsibility to assist our children, those who are helpless, who are marginalized. But we must become free from this surrogate lordship. And the topic we're discussing now is about salvationism. They put fear in our hearts. But the living entity, us, if through analysis, through hearing, the description of the soul, because what fear they put upon us? Because when we are so conditioned that we are this body, they tell us that if you are not a member, you don't follow the process, you'll go to hell and burn in eternal fire, eternally. But if we have this understanding of our nature that is described by Lord Krishna, that we can experience in reality, in truth, that we are not this body. The description of the soul is, the soul can never be burned, can never be moistened, can never be cut into pieces. He is eternal, everlasting, unchanging. So the living entity, us, through personal experience, we have gone through different bodies. A child's body, we can remember what we did before. A young boy's body, where we can remember some of what we have done before. And now, a young boy's body, we can remember also what we have done during that time. But those bodies are gone. So through practical experience, we can know that we are eternal, that all these changes from a baby body to a young boy's body to a young man's body, now I'm an old man's body, sooner or later I'm gonna leave this body. The greatest fear that everybody has is death. And we can see the reason everybody is afraid because they have, or we have this false idea that happiness, that the shelter we have is connected with this body through sensual enjoyment, through all this material shelter. House, wealth, family, followers, that has become the conditioning of our shelter and happiness and refuge. And that means you leave all of this. You leave all of this. And when a person has no connection with that Vaikuntha, with the transcendental experience of eternal peace in his heart, because his heart, his mind is connected with the will of God. His happiness is the pleasure of God. His happiness is the pleasure of his Gurudev. And he feels unqualified that even though in adversity, in austerity, when everything goes awry and the service he does, he's doing, gets disturbed, he can take shelter of that refuge. And that refuge is his true Sanatan Dharma, that is eternally the loving servant of God. And Krishna, the Supreme Person, assures us, just like he assured Arjuna. He protected Arjuna with the wisdom that he passed on, that he must listen from someone who is his confidential friend, the spiritual master, who is not different from God. So, those salvationists, they put forward this idea. And I was brought up in a Christian country, in a Christian environment, and they're telling now a teaching, passing on a teaching that is completely different from the teaching of the beloved Son of God. The first commandment is love the Supreme Person with all our heart, with all our mind. But what is happening is contrary to that. They're saying the first commandment is that you must be saved. So all of you here, all of us, we're not that stupid. And not only that, we may not be very talented and very intelligent, but simple sentence we can understand. So when the Son of God reveals his heart, the teachings of God, the commandment of God, in one simple sentence or two sentences, why interpret when he tells, love my Father, our Father, with all your heart, with all your mind? I've been sent by the Father. I and the Father are one. But they say, no, Jesus is the Father. Jesus could have said, I am the Father. In all his teachings, he tells us, I've been sent by my Father. If you reject me, the Father who sent me will reject you. So, if you study this Christian teaching, the Bible, Jesus Christ ascended into heaven and seated at the right hand of the Father. So the Father is a person, just like you are a person. So when we discuss about the science, it is about the personalities, the Supreme Person and us, our true nature. So it is a science we must understand to protect us from predators who have been so contaminated, who came to this material world, just like us, to play Lord. So my Siksha Guru was telling me, you want to enjoy, to dominate the material world? Be careful, because there are innumerable living entities here who are here to dominate and control. Be watchful, because you can be trampled, eaten, and exploited. You come here to dominate material nature? Be very careful. And out of their love and compassion, they come. Lord Krishna comes. He guides us from the Lord within the heart to be able to see his representative. He arranged an environment where we can come in contact with the transcendental world of the Harinama, where association is based upon eternality. That is eternal. It is about where we can direct, put our love, our heart, in refuge eternally. And that understanding is given by the Lord Himself, who put the Vedas, the teachings of Srimad Bhagavatam, the science of devotional service in writing, Lord Vyasadeva. And this kind-hearted, whose love is unconditional, whose life is simply pleasing His Gurudev, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, the dearmost life of our Gurudev, comes to the English, to this Western world, translating this transcendental science of devotional service so we can understand it. So the English language has become a garland when to Lord Krishna, when His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta, translated it into English so we can understand our true nature. And the reason for that is to also be in association with the will, with the pleasure of God. And also us, when we're given this opportunity to come in contact with this transcendental care and love and embrace of the holy names of God Himself, we can see in ourselves if we are making progress, because we begin to see the absolute reality of our true identity, our Sanatan Dharma, that we're eternally the loving servant of God. And when we look at this world, we are not anymore like the predators who are roaming around, materialists, whose consciousness has become so diseased and contaminated that they see this world as a world to consume, to control. And another, the impersonalist, who sees himself as God, who tries to destroy God, and puts himself on the pedestal, not connected with what is sweet. And what is sweet and fulfilling is that Sanatan Dharma, our true, eternal, transcendental nature, that we are all eternally the loving servant of God. So when I was brought in a Christian country, the prayer that we pray every day, Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Please forgive us for our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. So we enter that world that not touched by lust when we are really in love. Everybody has here, we should check if we're really in love. A young man comes to a young lady. Your eyes are so beautiful. You have this doe eye. Your voice is very sweet. I like to have a relationship with you. He reveals his heart, his mind, and say, I love you. But if you're with wisdom, you're in a body of this beautiful lady, and he tells you, you have a very nice voice. Your teeth are glowing, Your eyes sparkles. I love you. But if you're with wisdom, you really love me? You love my eyes? The guy doesn't know that the eye is fake, so he gets it. Okay, you can have my eye. You want my teeth? He gets his false, she gets her false teeth. Okay, you can have it. So love must be transcendental. And that experience can be experienced when we come in contact with the Supreme Purifier. That love, that Lord Krishna is embracing us. Harinama, the holy names, embraces us when we sing it. It enters our ear, coming from the heart, from the lips of our Gurudev, who is transcendental to this material conditioning. A world that he is always in meditation. Vrindavan, because the spiritual master is a resident of Vaikuntha, Vrindavan. And he comes here. And that is the main reason that Lord Krishna tells us, be guided by my confidential friend who loves you like I love you. So we can check ourselves. We're given this opportunity as disciples. So when we go out and help others under the guidance of the spiritual master, the process is simply passing on what we have realized and what we have understood. And we can see ourselves how we perform, not a performance rating. It becomes our life. Our motive is to simply pass on what has been given to us. And when we see other living entities completely sheltered by the holy names, it gives us fulfillment. It gives us happiness because now I have given what has been given to me, and this person can have this sustainable understanding and relationship because the holy names, Krishna, given to me by my spiritual master, by Krishna, I give it to him, pass it to him. His life now is sustainable because Krishna will be the driver of his life. There's no insecurity. So we must be watchful how we do our service. One time a spiritual master he asked his disciple, he was giving a class with his disciples, talking to them, speaking to them. Then he said to one of his disciples, please ask my disciples outside if they like, they can come and listen, attend this conversation, they can hear. Ask them if they would want to. And the disciple went out and he said, Srila Prabhupada wants you to attend and hear his lecture. There's a difference. Srila Prabhupada, our Gurudev, he passed on this message. And there's no force. There's no imposing. There's no hardness, but an amiable persuasion if they like. But this person is passing on something different. It is already tinged with this imposing command. Srila Prabhupada was saying, if they like, there's this if. It's like, please, if they like. But this guy, the words that came out is from his Gurudev has now become a command. So we should be very careful to listen carefully and pass on the message. Just like when my Gurudev taught all his disciples, and those disciples went out to preach, to pass on, not to create something new, because they were instructed to do mantra meditation, give literatures that His Divine Grace has translated into English, and our spiritual master wrote it on a contemporary age so people can understand it, layman like us. And when this person heard the teaching, he came in contact with the holy names. He was guided for years and years and years. And when he met our spiritual master again, meeting the spiritual master, meaning not face-to-face, but spiritual life has no geographical location. It's transcendental. So when the spiritual master talks to this person, his care and love is based upon this relationship, in a way persuading the person, if you like, I can assist you, I can help you. Because the science of understanding our Sanatana Dharma, our eternal nature, it's natural for the living entity, when he comes in contact with the Supreme Purifier, to be amiably, to be transcendentally engaging in his natural function to engage in loving service. The difference between someone who's contaminated, who is not in this transcendental world of Sanatana Dharma, is that he is serving God, but not amiably. He's serving in pain because he's trying to control and dominate material nature. So in either case, either we be in a transcendental situation, or we'll be serving God by force and experience this pain. Because when we try to dominate material nature, we become subjugated by material nature and we become servant of a force that's greater than us. Lust, because the love, Sanatana Dharma, has been contaminated and transformed into this lordship. We want to do our will. We want to be the driver, to be in control. And being insignificant, we cannot be self-sufficient. Meaning, we cannot pose a surrogate guru and let the followers that follows us, whom we have cheated, experience joy and security. What is real security? Is speaking the truth. The truth will set you free. So the person who speaks the truth, who's honest, we should follow that, because that is connected with the Lord within the heart. And it is in harmony with Sanatana Dharma. We must be careful because we are surrounded by many predators. We'll discuss about that. So the materialist who proposes that we are the body, very simple, you can understand you're not the body. At the time of death, someone leaves the body. The body is there, all the chemicals are there. It's still hot. But now, when the living entity leaves the body, that body breaks down. And practically, during All Souls Day, people go to the cemetery. The body is disintegrated already, broke down into simpler forms. But in their heart, they're remembering their loved ones who are gone. Who are gone. But the body, components of the body, is there. But when a person is so covered, he cannot see that. And the danger when a person is really in this lordship mentality, this is demoniac mentality. You know why? I'm the Lord of all I survey. I see everything. Everything belongs to me. Everything should follow me. I'm the enjoyer. He's my enemy. I have great relatives. I'm secured. And he pursues a goal to manipulate people. You can know when Jesus Christ was asked, how can we know you're followers? How can you know you're from God? And he said, if you want to do the will of the Father, you can see me as the representative of God. And about knowing my followers, you can know a tree by its fruit. So definitely, there's a great difference between love and lust. There's a great difference between someone who is transcendental and someone who tries to pose himself as surrogate guru teaching something different from our Sanatan Dharma, salvationism, because they want to put fear in our heart. So when we are established with wisdom, with our true nature, our eternality, and with this transcendental wisdom, we become free from this world of anxiety. We experience Ananda. Why? Because we are in harmony with the will, with the wish, with the desire of God. So what we do now, we become like a sculptor. We see our imperfection, we feel humble, we feel we are not qualified, and every moment of our life, we begin to care how we can please the Supreme Person. By heart, not by showcase. Performance rating. My spiritual master was telling me, Kanista Adhikari, neophyte devotees, when they do something for the spiritual master, they like to announce it. Srila Prabhupada, look what I did. I did this, I did that. They want to be noticed. But when one becomes mature spiritually, with Sanatan Dharma, with this transcendental experience of his true nature, life, experiencing surrender, although he knows in a humble way, in a humble mind, the third prayer of Lord Chaitanya, he falls down with his head, with his life, please take care of me. And he is situated under the lotus feet of Lord Krishna and his spiritual master. But he's not feeling proud. He's not feeling, I've been chanting for 40 years in association with the organization. I have this position. I talk to the Guru. Jesus said, you can know a tree by its fruit. So the fruit of love for God, our Guru Dev, Lord Krishna is the supreme purifier. He purifies everyone who comes in contact with him. And that supreme purifier, when we come in contact with him, we experience the transcendental joy because the supreme person is the world of eternal, loving, devotional service and joy, activities with God, a person. The bona fide spiritual master, the fruit, when one comes in contact with him, love for God is invoked in his heart. He begins to cling to desire. And that is the effect of associating with a Mahabhagavat or Saktavesh avatar, a pure, loving, confidential friend of Lord Krishna, the residents of Vaikuntha. So you can know a tree by its fruit. So we can also check ourselves. Am I tasting the fruit? Or I still have this contamination of feeling this sanctimonious, I'm so pure, I'm gonna purify everyone. Follow me, serve me. And I find happiness, people bowing down to me, guided by my sermonizing of the holiness and the purity that is in my contaminated consciousness of feeling this lordship. We must become free from that. We can check ourselves, our desire. And when my spiritual master, Lord Chaitanya, he gives this bottom line in a nutshell.
One comes to the point of understanding and realizing and experiencing there's nothing more to be gained than doing none other than doing what is pleasing to my Gurudev. So the spiritual master comes. He tells us, chant the holy names, pass on the holy names. So we can see negative, positive. So when we see our spiritual master, he's called our spiritual master, Jagad Guru Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa. He's a traveling spiritual master. He has no material home. He goes around traveling, but bringing with him the world that is transcendental by Kunta. Because in the seas in the world that is not touched by this material conditioning. That should be our goal. Now, we are in this predicament. It's a trying times. Diseases, war, the economy is bad. But it's already declared. It's already there that this planet Earth, this universe, is the planet, a place of death. The rising and the setting of the sun decreases one's life duration in this body. And when we see diseases, viruses, bacteria, we see mortuary, we see all these places where they bury the dead. We see the rising and the setting of the sun. We see a young baby, he grows. Then time comes, the body gets old, he leaves the body. Or some meets accident. This place is a very dangerous place because we are in this mutable environment. The living entity, as we are immutable, as described in Bhagavad Gita, we must completely understand that we can never be killed. We can never be chopped into pieces. We are the driver, the witness, watching what is happening around through our senses. And we should be guided by this transcendental teaching that our senses becomes purified, that we can connect our life, our heart, with the real shelter, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Lord Krishna states in Bhagavad Gita, I am the Father of all. The Lord is very kind to the living entities because they are His sons. Of course, there are all types of living entities according to their various karmas. Here, but the Lord claims that He is the Father of all of them. Therefore, the Lord descends to reclaim all these fallen, conditioned souls to call them back to Sanatan, eternal sky, so that the Sanatan living entities may regain their eternal position in eternal association with the Lord. The Lord comes Himself in different incarnation, or He sends His confidential servants as sons or His associate or acharyas to reclaim the conditioned souls. So our relationship with the Supreme Person is eternal because we're eternal. The question now is, where will this Sanatan Dharma covered now, where our eternality will be focused? Will it be focused upon this mutable, temporary, moving world, this sandman, this desert, this jungle of material life, this ocean of misery, or we can take shelter of what is eternal. Eternal joy, eternal happiness, under the guidance of our Gurudev. Thank you very much. Haribol Namaste. Let's continue this program this coming Monday to discuss more how we can cross this jungle to be protected with wisdom coming from Parampara. Haribol Namaste. Thank you very much for participating. Let's chant now the holy names that is given to us by Lord Krishna, His embrace, His love. That will be our shelter, our protection. Haribol Namaste.
Siddhaswarupananda, Paramahamsa Namine, Gora Karuna Swarupaya, Radha Krishna Prestaya Te. Nanda, Shri Advaita Gadadhara, Shri Vasudeva Vasavrita. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Gauranga, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Gauranga. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Gauranga, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Gauranga. Jaya Jaya Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa, Jaya Jaya Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa, Jaya Jaya Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa, Jaya Jaya Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa. Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana, Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana, Gopala Govinda Rama, Hari Krishna, Krishna, Gopala Govinda Rama, Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana, Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana, Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana, Gopala Govinda Rama, Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana, Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana, Hari Krishna, Krishna, Gopala Govinda Rama, Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana, Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana, Hari Krishna, Hari Krishna, Hari Krishna. Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana, Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana, Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana, Madana Mohana. Gopala Govinda Rama, 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 Madana Mohana. Hari Krishna, Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana. 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 Hari Krishna, Hari Krishna, Hari Krishna. Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana. Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana. 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 Hari Krishna, Hari Krishna. Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana. Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana. Jaya Jaya Krishna, Jaya Jaya Krishna. Mohana. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Bhagavan, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Bhagavan. Jaya Jaya Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Jaya Jaya Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa, Jaya Jaya Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa. Haribol, Haribol, Namaste, Haribol. Haribol, Namaste. So we'll see you next Monday.